It is coming. It is coming, Matt Carano. Today is the day. I don't know why I'm unnaturally excited. What is today? July 26th, Monday. And my friend down in Tampa, I got a new friend. He covers the Bucks, and he says today they are going to have access to Tom Brady, and they're going to ask Tom Brady, "Did you get the shot?" And I'm predicting a storm that's going to last a while because here's what's going to happen. I know you saw my Twitter poll. Did
I
you like
did,
my
yeah.
Twitter poll? This is only the second Twitter poll I've ever done where I asked people what will Brady say because the media in Tampa thought they were getting access to Brady yesterday, Sunday. They did not. They got Leonard Fournette to say that he's not taking the vaccine. He's consulting with his doctors, but he doesn't want to take the vaccine, which is a big deal. He's sort of a star, not obviously at Brady's level, but he's up there and he's on the Super Bowl champs, and he's saying he doesn't want the vaccine. But Brady has a choice to make when he's asked. Obviously, he could say yes if he took the vaccine. He could say no if he didn't. But we know what will happen if he says no. So I think there's really only two choices. If
Yeah.
they say, "Did you take the vaccine, Tom?" He could say yes if he did, but I don't think he did. And the second choice is going to be some mumbo jumbo about personal choices and HIPAA laws, and he's talking to his doctor. If he does not say flat out yes, anything else is a no.
I saw a
Anything.
number. Sorry about that. I saw a number of people saying, "Oh, it's a HIPAA violation to answer that." It's not a HIPAA violation to ask or answer that. It's a HIPAA violation if someone finds your records. That's the stupidest excuse I heard all weekend.
I know, it's dumb. Obviously, if you volunteer the information, it has nothing to do with HIPAA, and it's up to him. The onus is on him. If the Bucks released some personal medical information, then you'd have a HIPAA violation.
Right.
That's not going to happen. But I don't see how you can answer it if he hasn't had the vaccine, and I don't think he has. I'm not sure how you can answer it and make it go away. How you can answer that question and not become the biggest story in the off season, because we got over the weekend, I believe it was over the weekend or maybe it was Friday, the NFL released the protocols, and if you don't get vaccinated, they're going to make your life difficult. As that doctor, that CNN doctor, that authoritarian who wants to punish people who don't get the vaccine, make life difficult. She says, test them 3 times a week, don't let them fly, fire them from their jobs. Well, the NFL is not that extreme, but they're making it clear that if you do not get this untested, unapproved vaccine, your life is going to be difficult. And I there and we can go through a number of uh,
The
the
penalties.
rules here,
Yeah.
penalties, the punishment. It begins with a $14,000 fine for
Yeah.
first offense. That wouldn't be a big deal to Tom Brady, of course, but you know what else they're going to do? Require you to wear masks everywhere except on the field. By the way, the Olympians look ridiculous when they do interviews with masks, and I mean these are they get the Olympic winners. I don't know and we're going to get to the Olympics because there was some eventful stuff over the weekend, but the Olympic winners, when they're on the medal stand, are allowed 30 seconds to remove their masks and smile for the cameras, and then they have to put them back up. They can't. I don't know who's timing that, but if they go like 32 seconds, 40 seconds, do they lose their medals? What's the rule on that? Do you know?
I don't.
We'll,
Check it
we'll
out.
find out. We'll find out. But the NFL is going to make life difficult for people, for players who don't get vaccinated. They can't leave their hotel rooms on the road. None of these things Brady will abide by. Last year, before the vaccines, or right at the beginning of the vaccine, like January during the playoffs, Brady never wore a mask. He never wore one on the field after the game. He never wore one in press conferences. I'm going to bet he never wore one. Period.
I mean, you just Google search Brady in COVID mask, and you see like just one or two pictures. Even just doing that, you don't see him in a mask.
You remember on the field, they do interviews on the field after the
Yeah.
playoff win, after the NFC Championship game, or after the Super Bowl, and everyone was, grabbing their masks. Brady doesn't have a mask. I know Brady. I mean, I don't personally know him. I don't hang out with him, but I talk to him hundreds of times. I know how he thinks. and we've discussed this before, but he genuinely believes he is not susceptible to certain things, such as injuries. He says he knows how to play NFL football without getting hurt. And it's been years. It's been 13 years since he's been seriously hurt. And he's worked with Alex Guerrero, and we've gone over this and all the stretching and the pliability and the nutrition. Hell, in his book, he says he knows how to not get sunburned.
Yeah, that's
He thinks proper diet, exercise, mentality, mindset, he thinks he's got it all, and he does, but he thinks that prevents certain ailments, illnesses, injuries. Are you telling me that Tom Brady, 44 years old, fit as could be, thin, healthy, doesn't drink except, when they win except in parades. He only drinks during parades. Doesn't screw around. I mean, doesn't cheat on his diet. We know this guy's a fanatic, right? And we know he's a little odd, a little eccentric. Thinks he knows how to not get. I mean, he thinks he knows how to not get concussed. Playing in the NFL, and he hasn't really been concussed. At least not. It hasn't knocked him out of games or put him on the injured list. Do you think that he thinks that he has to get vaccinated to prevent serious illness from coronavirus? Because I don't think he's vaccinated. I don't think he has any intention of getting vaccinated. So what happens, Matt Carano, today if he says to this reporter who is promising me that he's going to ask, I'll get you, I forgot his name, but I'll get his name. He says,
yeah.
He was responded to me on Twitter when I said, what's going to happen? And this guy said, we're going to ask, and they will. What does Brady say? Because anything but yes, keep this in mind, anything but yes is a no.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you end the story by saying yes. But if he hasn't done it, and if he can't lie, because if he lies and that ever comes out, he's sunk. So if he hasn't taken it, I think you're absolutely right. Any other answer, I think it'll be sort of, he's probably got I'm sure he's got a team around him, and they've constructed an answer that will not be direct about it. Something about, hey, listen, that's a decision for my family to make with my doctor, and we're just it's a private decision that we're all going to, that type of thing. I think it's going to come out. I think it's going to be a non-answer. What do you think?
Well, it's going to have to be pretty artful if it's not going to be interpreted as a no.
Sure.
I mean, I know you and I are probably more cynical than most, but we're not going to hear that kind of answer. I'm going to, it's personal. I'm whatever, between me, my doctor, my family, and all that kind of mumbo jumbo. If we hear that, we are just going to assume he's not vaccinated, which means he's going to get fined $14,000 first offense. If he doesn't wear a mask, doesn't stay in his hotel room, doesn't do all these other things that this new NFL protocol requires. And this is going to be interesting because Cole Beasley, the Buffalo Bills wide receiver, he went out first, emphatically said he's not doing the vaccine. He'll retire before he gets the vaccine. Cole Beasley is disposable. They could say, to cut him. They could fire him, say like they did with the coach.
Yeah.
Coach Rick Dennison from Minnesota. They didn't mess around. He said, I'm not getting the vaccine. They fired him. Coaches obviously don't have the same union protection as players, but he was their offensive line coach and run game coordinator in Minnesota, said he's not doing the vaccine. They said, you're gone. I believe the Patriots did the same with Popovich. They have assistant coach who was dismissed the other day. They announced would not be returning, and somebody wrote that it was vaccine related. I don't think they'd confirm that, and Belichick never will. So we're just going to have to assume the guy said.
Actually, so CBS is saying that you're exactly right. Patriots co-offensive line coach Cole Popovich won't return due to COVID-19 vaccine requirements.
So so they're reporting that he's out because he wouldn't take the vaccine, and he's young, right? He's 36. Is no relation, or is he related to Popovich? I should know that. To Greg Popovich, and we'll get to him too. We'll get to him too. But they just fire him. They just dismiss the guy and say, you don't want the vaccine, you're gone. And he's gone. So they can do that to coaches. Players, they're just going to make their life difficult. And again, you can make life difficult even for stars like DeAndre Hopkins, who said he was thinking of retiring before getting vaccinated. Leonard Fournette, who said he's still mulling it over, but will probably not get vaccinated. You can make their life difficult. Can you make Tom Brady's life difficult?
That's a tough
That
one.
is going to be fascinating. And, maybe I'm overrating the story, but can you imagine just the reaction? Lots of people in this country hate Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady, because he's got it all, because he's, just perfect. And over the weekend, Brady put out a video. I'm sure you've saw it, where he's throwing the football into like a jugs gun, like a passing machine, and he does it 3 times, boom, boom, and it looks amazing. And the question is it real? You're pretty experienced at this kind of thing, photoshopping and
Sure.
meme making, and is that real? Does Brady actually throw the ball into the machine?
I think it is. Otherwise, I think it would get out. What do you think?
What
I think
do you think?
otherwise.
Do you think if he took 100 tries and it went in 3 times, they could edit
Yeah,
it to just throw those
yeah,
3?
they could do that.
This is
Yeah,
pretty clean.
yeah.
He just grabs it, boom, right back in. But it also, I think he tags some film editor on the video, on the tweet or the Instagram post. So I don't think he actually nailed it 3 times, but he nailed it. I mean, he nailed it 3 times. We don't know how often. And this is only a couple weeks
Right.
after he taunted Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers by draining 3 straight putts from like 30 feet.
Right.
And talking about it. And it was amazing, but he has a pretty good social media team. So everyone's showing that video today saying, oh, he's amazing. And, isn't Brady amazing? And then tomorrow, they're all going to be saying, uh-oh, Brady didn't get vaccinated. See, there's certain guys, Brady's one, and you know who else is one? Bryson DeChambeau. They're like freaks about their nutrition. With DeChambeau, it's about building muscle, but he's a fanatic. He added 30 pounds of muscle. Maybe he had a little help from, anabolic steroids, but he tested positive in Japan and got booted out of the Olympics. He's not going to get vaccinated, especially not now. He's already had had COVID. I don't think DeChambeau feels like he needs a vaccine, so I bet you he declines it, and then the PGA has to deal with it. But there's a few athletes like this who don't believe in putting things in their body that they, that are untested, that are there to protect them from a disease that they don't believe can really affect them. So that's the way Brady thinks. I'm sorry if that's going to upset people, the mainstream media and the politicians and, the administration who are trying to get, or Goodell, he's shown that he can come down hard on Tom Brady. He probably wouldn't hesitate to use his full power to, to force Brady to get the shot. But I don't think Brady's getting the shot. That's just my guess.
And the corporate media is going to have to make a decision too, because they're definitely pretty woke when it comes to the vaccine, and they go after people who even have questions about some of the numbers around.
No questions allowed, Carano. No questions allowed.
No, so I wonder how they're going to treat Tom Brady. I mean, he's a media darling, and he's sort of like been outside of their huge scrutiny, at least for the last few years. I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder if they're going to come down hard on him.
But he's the biggest star, obviously. He's a legendary, the greatest player ever. He's out front. He's accessible because he has to be. It's not like he can just hide. He has to be accessible. And I believe it's today. I'm waiting for a confirmation. But if it's not today, it's the next couple of days. Chris Torello, a TV guy down there covering the Bucks, says they did not get access Sunday, but they're hoping today. And if it's not today, there are rules. Every player, the NFL is pretty strict. Every player has to stand before the media and take questions. And I mean, there might be some little, Homer, Tampa reporter who just says, "Gee, Tom, how you feeling, big guy?" But there are others who know that this is the only question today because it shakes up the whole league. And I'll tell you what, don't underestimate this. Jason Whitlock had a column yesterday, I believe, on the Blaze, talking about the vaccine policy as the new Jim Crow. And I had to read, sometimes I roll my eyes and move on with Jason, but I had to read it. And he points out that he thinks it's flat out racist to have strict, vaccine requirements because black players are naturally skeptical because of the old Tuskegee experiments, and because Democrats have been telling them for a year and a half that the system is rigged against you. If you're African American, we have systemic racism. So you should be skeptical. You should be cynical. That's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden said not that long ago. If it's a Trump vaccine, I have my doubts. So they sow these seeds of doubts, and now they say, you can't have any doubts. You can't have any questions. Just shut up and roll up your sleeve. It's not going to be every player. Obviously, it's not. I think some NFL teams are over 90%. Do we have that? Do I have that correct? They have to be over 85. And I believe a number of teams already done that, and some are over 90%. But that's so what? If you have, 50, if you have 60 players, you're still going to have a handful.
You have more than a dozen that are not vaccinated, or about a dozen not vaccinated. Yeah, 85%. 30 teams above that 85% threshold.
So you're going to have someone on every team, and I think it will likely be a star, because think of some schmuck special teamer or backup tight end. He knows if he says no, they can cut him. They'll just cut you. They're not going to cut DeAndre Hopkins. They're not going to cut Tom Brady. So the ones we'll focus on, the ones who will be kind of in the center of the storm, are the stars, including the biggest star ever. And I don't know what happens. I just don't think Brady thinks. And maybe everyone has a breaking point where they say, they make life so uncomfortable, or the questions just don't stop. And Brady says, fine, just give me the damn thing. I just don't picture that yet. Not for Tom Brady. And I wonder what the league is going to do tomorrow, when the news breaks. It'll be, you're right, the national media go nuts. And there will be lots of people. I mean, CNN, their whole life, they're dedicated to two things, fact checking Fox News and telling people if they don't get the vaccine, they're evil. Their job is to carry the water, circle the wagons for Joe Biden. And right now, I mean, Biden was supposed to get, what was the number at the 4th of July? He wanted 70% of the country vaccinated.
Yeah.
And, some areas, the number's big, like New England and, whatever, San Francisco, California, whatever the coasts. But that middle America, Mississippi, what did we have, Matt, the other day? 35% vaccinated.
Yeah, I think it's actually higher than that now, but they have not met their mark, even nationally.
Right. And you know why, don't you? Because of Laura Ingraham, all those.
Of course.
People, yeah, yes. and Tucker Carlson. And
sure.
We'll get to Tucker. But today's the day, and I wonder how many more coaches will get fired, how many more scrubs will get cut, because they're never going to get to 100%.
No.
And I'll tell you what, I would probably, if I were an NFL player and they said, you got to do this, I would say, okay, let's just do it. Except if I already have COVID. If you already had COVID, your own immunity, your own antibodies are more effective against the virus than the vaccine.
Of course.
So you're more well protected if you had COVID and recovered than if you haven't had COVID and got the vaccine. That doesn't seem real complicated. So if I'm a player and I know that and I read that and I say I had COVID, my doctor said I'm good, you're gonna be really reluctant to roll up your sleeve, because not only is this vaccine new and not yet approved, but we don't know how it works with someone long term, how it works with someone who's already had COVID.
That's the thing. I mean, that's the issue. It's a new type of vaccine. The mRNA is not, I mean, it's been in testing for a while, but it hasn't been live for a long time. So, we don't have a 10-year or 20-year or 30-year span where we've been able to see how it's affected people long term. We just don't know. So there are absolutely risks associated with the vaccine, and whether or not the risks outweigh the risks of getting COVID, it's really tough to say. And I think it also depends on your demo, how old you are, and all that stuff. These are athletes; they're in their 20s, so they're in one of the lowest risk profiles out there. And if they've had COVID, it's like, why I wouldn't get the shot if I were in that demo.
What if you were a backup tight end? You might get cut.
Right. So then there's that. Then
the choice is to go work at Home Depot or make $800,000 to play for the Patriots. I think I might say, I'll suck it up and get the shot and hope I hope it doesn't make my heart swell or I don't have other side effects, because I mean, these are people. If you tell most NFL players that playing 3 or 4 seasons in the NFL will cost you 5 years off the end of your life, they would do it. They would play. They would do it. They would say, so instead of dying at 80, I'll die at 75, but I get to play in the league. I get to make a few million. I get to, walk around the rest of my life and say, I played in the NFL. They would absolutely give you those years at the end of their life and go out there and play. And I'm not just talking about, Wes Welker or Julian Edelman, guys who laid it out every play. I'm talking about the average NFL guy would give you whatever, anything, give you, a couple of fingers off his hand if it meant playing in the league. So I think a lot of guys are skeptical. They have questions, but they're just going to say, let's get this over with. That's what a lot of people are doing, right?
Yeah,
they know the bizarre thing, Carano, I know we talked about this last week, but consider the answer the administration, the Biden administration, and by extension, his Praetorian Guard at CNN and MSNBC and NBC, their answer to questions that people like Jason Whitlock have, or people like DeAndre Hopkins or Tom Brady have, their answer is, let's find the people on the internet, on Facebook and Twitter, who are asking those similar questions, or just being skeptical at all. Let's find them and stop them and shut them up. That should make us all nervous.
Certainly.
To an administration devoted, and not even hiding it, by the way, flat out saying, we must stop this, and they call it disinformation or misinformation, which is just another word for someone who disagrees with you. So they think that someone like Leonard Fournette is learning this from the internet, and their answer is not to counter it with their own, facts and their own arguments. It's to, let's find that person and pull the plug on them.
Take them off all social media. Take them off, not just one, just take them off everything.
I read about one of them, and I initially, when we talked about it, I thought there would be, famous people who have, millions of followers, but it's just like, there's like a doctor. He's an anti-vax doctor, and he's tweeting, and he's got, facts and, numbers and data, and they just want to pull the plug and say, don't let anyone hear from him. That is so, not only is it wrong, it's anti-American. It is flat out anti-American to have our own administration devoted to shutting people up and in this important time, including people who are just bringing the facts. I mean, like Alex Berenson, he's probably the most famous, COVID analyst or on Twitter. He's got a few books, the booklets they call them, and he's on TV a lot. And he just keeps bringing the anti-vax facts and the side effects and the numbers and over. And they want to just take him out, not answer, not counter him, not dispute him, just take him out. That is wrong, and it's un-American. And, maybe DeAndre Hopkins and Cole Beasley and Tom Brady are reading these 12 people, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're just talking to their own doctor, their own family. Maybe Brady gets his info from Alex Guerrero, his trainer, his guru, and that's most likely. And Guerrero's reading whatever and saying, don't put this in your body. Your body is perfect, Tom.
Your body's perfect. Right.
I'm sure that's what Alex says to him every day when he's rubbing him. Your body is perfect. Don't put that in there. And I'm sure, and Brady listens to everything Guerrero says. So it will be wild. It'll be really wild if he flat out says no. Like Beasley did.
And even if you're not like anti this particular vaccine, you just look at the numbers that are not disputed. The deaths from COVID based on your age group, it's like the risk is really small in certain age groups. We talked about under 18. It's basically zero.
Can I give that number again? I have it here on my computer. I'm going to leave it there. It's like permanent. One of his feet here. I'll be quick. Marty McCary, the doctor from Johns Hopkins, who's pretty prominent, has a piece in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago, and the number he's heard, was 335 children, people under 18, died last year from COVID in the United States. They investigated, and the number of children under 18 who died of COVID without any serious underlying conditions, such as leukemia. That's his words, his line. The number is zero, none. And right now, parents have to decide. Parents of 12-year-olds and 14 and 16-year-olds have to decide whether their kids are going to go back to the same school because they can't go to that school without getting vaccinated, or play. I talked about a friend of mine, 16-year-old, and they have to decide whether he's going to play in this league. I think it was a soccer or baseball. I don't know. He's going to play in this league, which requires a vaccine, and they don't want to do it. He's a kid. He's not vulnerable. And most parents, if good parents, they don't want to do it, but they're being forced by the system, and it's frightening. So kids have to switch schools or drop sports because they don't want to get the injection. It's just crazy. But it's going to get crazier, Carano, is my prediction.
Agreed.
Today or very soon, when number 12 says, I ain't doing it. Now, he won't use those words, but he will make it clear that he has not done it. And I could be wrong. All I said is I will be really surprised if he says, yes, I did it, and everyone else should do it too.
Oh,
because
yeah.
wouldn't the administration, wouldn't the media love that? He would be the biggest spokesman. And don't you think behind the scenes they're begging him to do that? The league, it's anybody. This would be the biggest pro-vax spokesman out there. If Tom Brady looked in the camera and said, I did it and you should do it. Let's get vaccinated. That would be huge, but it's not going to happen. One other NFL note that just went so far under the radar. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. Deshaun Watson, quarterback for the Houston Texans, is going to report, I believe today, on time, ready to play. Why is that notable? Because at least 22 women have accused him of sexual misconduct. 22 massage therapists. We talked a lot about this, I don't know, when it was all happening, whatever that was, 4 or 5 months ago. He's a freak. He likes to get weird with his massage therapists, and he likes to go through them. He doesn't like to just stick with one or two. He likes to find new. Sometimes he flies them in to Houston, and then he makes them, uncomfortable. This is very credible. We know his lawyer is negotiating with their lawyer, and there've been no criminal charges. But the NFL doesn't usually wait for criminal charges. They suspend people based on accusations. Ben Roethlisberger got suspended based on accusations. I believe Ezekiel Elliott did too. They do. Even these are stars too. Elliott, Roethlisberger.
Of course.
This is a star being accused by 22 women, and he's going to put on the pads and walk out to practice and yuck it up with his teammates today? That is strange. And I guess they're waiting for more information or, criminal charges or whatever. But normally, and I'm not going to say, Clay Travis flat out says if he were white, he'd be suspended.
Maybe.
Deshaun Watson, if he were white, he'd be suspended. Ezekiel Elliott's, last I checked, is not white.
Right. Yeah.
Tom Brady's white, and he gets suspended for 4 games for nothing, for a puff of air. I mean, I'm not sure I buy that if Deshaun Watson were white, he'd be suspended, but it is strange. If he were someone else, somewhere else, he would be suspended right now. And it's going to be interesting to watch it unfold. Is he going to play like game
I don't
one?
think he plays. Yeah. So I talk about with a bunch of friends who think I'm crazy and think that he will play. I don't think he plays another. I don't think he plays it down this year. I would give it 50% he doesn't play again. I mean, if any of these are true, any of them, if there's any credibility whatsoever, I don't think he gets back in.
That's right. If one of the 22 is true, that he should be suspended. If they're all true, he belongs in prison. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You do this, you're a sicko. You are a sicko. And as one of them said, we went over some graphic details. He would like move his member around and touch the masseuse's like hands with him by himself, like slap his own wiener on their hands. I mean, he's a strange guy, and there's a word for that. It's called a felony. Uh,
Yeah.
he's showing up number 4, Houston
100%, yeah.
Texans, taking the field today. That is weird. We will see how that plays out. It won't be nearly as big as number 12 in Tampa, but we will we will be all over that. All right, let's get to the story that you want to talk about. You wanted to start with.
Not just me. Your fans want to talk about it too.
Yes, my fans want to talk about it, and this is interesting. I'll do shit. We'll do Shay after this, and we'll get to the Tucker confrontation and the idiotic new nickname of the Cleveland baseball team. But I haven't heard the entire thing. There are 2 cuts from the my
Greg Hill show from
Greg
WEI.
Hill show.
Yeah.
I tend to think of it as the Chris Curtis show, but whatever. They share top billing. The Curtis and Wiggy show on my old station in my old time slot, and for the most part, I don't think they've ever talked about me. They will never ever talk about Kirk. Although they did back when I forget something happened and Curtis went after Kirk and it didn't go well.
A little. You said that Kirk was irrelevant, which is
that's interesting for coming from a radio station that finished, what was it, 16th?
Oh, it's
on the
super low.
weekends. But and getting beaten by, I swear to God, they're getting beaten by stations in overall listeners by stations I've never heard of. I have to look. I see the call letters. I go, where is this station? Oh, it's in Brockton or whatever. It's a public radio station. I go, I've never even heard of them. And I could tell you, if that were me and that were Kirk or even Dino, we would be distraught. I would be just beside myself if I was getting those kind of numbers and those kind of ratings. So I think there's desperation here, clearly. And I think the morale there must be so bad. It just, again, if we lost by 0.2 of a point, we'd be down and depressed, and Kirk could be walking on the railroad tracks, and I'd be like beside myself. If we lost by 0.2, as Minahan has pointed out many times, I mean, we would battle it out and we would win and we would be thrilled. Now they're like trying to stay out of 8th place. It's grim.
Well, when they first took over too, they were bragging on 2nd and 4th place finishes.
They were making it up. They flat out one day made it up. Said they finished first. It was totally made up. I heard that whole story. They just said, "Let's go. Let's say we're number 1." That didn't happen. It will never happen. And right now, this is the latest rock bottom. And I feel bad for some guys over there. I feel bad for the guys in the afternoon. They're good guys, and they do, I think, a good job. But people gave up on the station after I'm not going to say because of me, but because of our story, because of what happened to Kirk and me. And they know that the station made a deal with a insane activist.
An insane activist, yeah.
They shook hands, made a deal. They got rid of us. He controlled, he's essentially the program director. He was working with the Globe, and they went after our advertisers, and he had some success. The station didn't back us up. So people know that happened. And when they know that you're making deals with activists and promising not to do anything edgy or controversial, they bail. People bail on that. When they know there's nothing remotely dangerous or remotely edgy coming on, when they turn the radio on, it's real easy to hit the button and go somewhere else. That's the problem they have. It doesn't matter how good today's conversation is about yesterday's amazing Red Sox win. It could be, the most insightful, talk. If people know there's nothing, dangerous coming, they bail on you. They're done. And that's what's happened. That's why we have the latest edition of Rock Bottom from the latest ratings at the station. And I think this is largely born out of desperation. I mean, again, I've only heard one cut. We said we'll listen to the next cut live right here. So let's do it, Carano.
There it is.
We know one person who's very upset with that, and that is Curtis's Mr. America guy. Do we have a name for that
we gotta
character?
name him.
When you do,
My name's Jerry America.
Oh, Jerry America. That's the guy's name. Okay,
Finally
all right.
get some nuts on this show.
Jerry America.
This place hasn't had balls in a couple of years.
So that's Curtis, who has created a character for you.
Kate, tell me the funny part. I said I was going to ask you this. I hate fake laughter. I mean, I understand you laugh, you try to sell a joke, but there's nothing remotely funny there. Is there? Am I missing something?
No, because the problem is people, they I think they were told they can't say your name or say Kirk's name on air. So if they're not identifying you, if they're not even saying your name, then a lot of people who listen to that show weren't listening to you guys. These are, carryovers from WAAF or something. They're not going to know the reference. So it's not funny. It's not funny at all.
Well, two things. Two things. I'm obviously a right-wing zealot. Everyone knows that. Curtis is to the right of me. He's a bigger right-winger. Not that matters. And Hill, I guess, is. He doesn't really go on the record, but he is too. But my favorite part of this is the guy, not Curtis, the other guy, Greg Hill, imitating me. Early on, when they replaced me and us, he was, I don't know what he was talking about, but Lou Merlone, guy in the afternoon, good guy, friend of ours, did an imitation of Hill. And it was funny. I mean, it wasn't like that. It was legit funny. Yeah. And I was talking to somebody. I said, that was a funny imitation. And in radio, like if you get a good imitation, it's gold. I mean, you go back to it a lot. And, Minahan was good at it. He could imitate lots of us, including me.
Yes.
And everyone imitated Ordway. I didn't have the best Ordway imitation, but lots of people did. And it was gold. It was funny, legit funny. So I asked someone, whatever happened to that Greg Hill imitation that Lou did? Lou's not always funny, but in this case, he was funny. They said Greg Hill went to management and said, make him stop. Which
what a wuss.
I mean, it's just not if you can't appreciate someone, even if they're making fun of you and they're funny, then you're missing the whole point. You're supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to be, try to be funny, and self-deprecation is a great way to get some laughs. So that imitation went away, which is amazing for two reasons: that he would complain about it, and that they would actually tell Lou to stop. If we were there, and again, it's this Minahan would be leading the way. I'd be laughing, but he'd be leading the way, and he would just double down on it. He'd do it again. It would be more. I mean, it would be funny, and it would be it would create a little tension, a little friction, but it would be good radio. This, I mean, maybe it's me, and I'm missing the joke here, but this is not funny or good radio, is it?
No, I mean, they have no instincts whatsoever. But the other part of it that's really dumb. It's like, clearly Curtis isn't, he's not the brightest bulb. He stole this this is a Kirk bit. Kirk doing your voice. It's his bit. I mean, he stole it.
Okay, so that's when I said Kirk imitates me, and you said it's totally different. That's what you're talking about, like Curtis is stealing it?
Yeah, that's the other part of it too. It's like it's not even original. And go ahead.
Here's where Kirk and I talked to him, and here's where we I don't know, disagree. And he admits he gets more upset than I do, and it bothers him. And hopefully it doesn't bother him too much, because we're getting along good. And we'll see how it goes now, because he gets more upset than I do at this. And in my mind, Curtis is what he is. And when he was on our team, he was our attack dog, and we loved him. Curtis can't push any buttons. You're good technically, and Cullinane's good, and our old producer Ken Laird is a great button pusher. He doesn't know how to do any of that. And we didn't rely on guests, so getting guests wasn't that important. What he was just this attack dog who did whatever we asked, and everybody hated him on the other shows. Obviously, everybody hated him on the other station, and he didn't care. He just worked for us, and he devoted himself to whatever we needed. And now he's doing it for someone else. We're not friends. He doesn't think of it as talking about an old friend. He just thinks of his job is to be the pit bull.
Yeah.
And he knows that show really needs it. That show needs someone who, has, wants to go on the attack. So it's like, that's his job. It has nothing to do with He doesn't look at me as, oh, I'm talking about a friend or Minahan or anybody.
Well, let
He
me ask you this
right,
then,
he
Jerry.
just knows he works for that show, and that show desperately needs something, and he's trying to provide it. So I don't have a huge problem, which pisses off Kirk. I understand.
Well, but to your point though, so I've got an Instagram post from right after you left the station in 2019, and it's a picture of you and him at some sort of field. I can't see what it is exactly. I'll tweet it out later. But with my idol, Gerry Callahan. I still can't believe that I'll no longer be spending my mornings with this man. Grateful to have had the privilege to work with him for 6 years, a true original. So you're saying that he's just then he's a snake, because in the past he's saying how much he idolized you. I heard on a number of occasions he called you a second father figure, an idol, a true original.
Well, he did a show. He and Laird did a show, tribute to me, which was very nice, and it was great. But that's that was his job then, and his job now is to do work for someone else. And he devotes himself. I mean, at the station, all the people on the middays in the afternoons, they hate him because all he cares about is his show. And we loved it when he was on our side, because he was as maniacal as we were, as Kirk was or I was, when it came to fighting for our little piece of the day part, and fighting for our show. Now he's doing it for someone else. That's what he does. Hell, that picture, which I wasn't a big fan of at the time, but we got a picture of him on a leash with us.
Good one.
Literally, that was his role, to be the pit bull, and it's still his role. And I'd be surprised if he gives a damn about our old friendship, because that doesn't matter.
Then he's a liar. Then he's a goddamn liar. He's just a liar and fraud.
Well, he's also a survivor. When I was let go, I thought he wouldn't be far behind, and some other people wouldn't be far behind, but he's a survivor. And these people know, especially, producers, they know that there's not another job waiting for them. If it all blows up at EEI, they're going to hit a dead end, because not a lot of jobs. Radio is dead. That station is dead. The Red Sox, even though they're, hot, winning comebacks and all that, their ratings suck. And there's not, people watching are, older than I am. They're ancient. As a product, they got nothing to offer, and they know it. So if it all blows up on them, they have nowhere to go. And that's generally, that's what motivates them. They took pay cuts, and, they will do whatever, the weekend shows and whatever they're asked, because they don't want to lose the gig.
Here's the thing though, like, I know, so you and I, we don't know each other very well. We've done a few shows, and I'm super excited to be here and working with you. But I would still feel like, even if for some reason we weren't working together now, and in the future, say you buried me, just buried me in public, I like to think that I would think to myself, oh, well, Gerry he's burying me now. Maybe that's wrong. But he gave me a shot. He was super good to me to get me on air. I wouldn't have had any public, I wouldn't have had this opportunity without Gerry Callahan. I would just, you've never buried him. But you've never
burying?
Well, I'm just saying I'm saying you have never buried him, and yet he's mocking you. I just think that's just a shitty snake move.
I guess I'm not that sensitive.
Everyone
mocks my my voice, and the fact that I am a right-wing zealot. So I guess I'm used to it. But I didn't hear the whole thing. Did we play the rest?
Yes, that's the first part, and then the second part later on is the one that I tweeted out. Here it is.
Work at a factory where he had an accident. Wiggy worked with him.
And then Half-Ball's Greg Hill. That guy's a sackless loser.
And then you oh, Gerry America, stop
Gerry America, let's get some real talk.
Gerry
I'm
America.
trying to explain.
I'll tell you what, if that women's soccer team just saluted the flag, they wouldn't have lost that first game.
So that was the second one that you heard.
Okay, that that's not a good try. That's not even I think Wiggy and Curtis couldn't fake laugh.
You usually get a
hold on, sorry about that. There you go.
Yeah, please make it stop.
I know.
But whatever. That's hopefully they'll keep it up. Because what imitation is whatever.
Is the biggest form of flattery? Yeah.
But it's not a very good imitation, I have to say. I'm an expert on the quality of imitations of me, and that's not a good one. Sorry. And I was waiting for him to say, what's Kirk's it's maggots or that's good.
Yes.
Do you do an imitation of me? You got a voice.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that for you now, but yes, of course.
You've done it in the past.
Oh, I mean,
You mocked me.
it's flattery.
Oh my God, I can't believe you mocked me. You suck.
I know. The other question though is, didn't for me too, Curtis doesn't have a job at EEI right now without you and Kirk vouching for him after he went through his troubles. I mean, you guys were the ones that brought him back. He wouldn't even have a job.
That's true, and we saw the value in him. Put it that way. Well, other people would be like, he can't work the board. He was an alcoholic. He was a lunatic. I mean, he's got all kinds of issues. And we said, yeah, but he's he's like our little pit bull, and we appreciate it. It is amazing that he's like the lead producer and doesn't have like the skills that you have or Cullinane has or most first year producers right out of college have. He can't do that, but he just did whatever he was asked of him, and now he's still doing it. And I guess fake laughing is part of the job on that show. That is required.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, now I'm sure Kirk will be upset that I didn't destroy Curtis, but maybe that will come. Maybe they'll continue to mock me. But even the nickname sucks. Gotta do better than that, can't you?
So, they don't say your name. Like, they don't say Kirk's name. They don't say management's told them to not say your name.
It's got nothing to do with well, maybe it does, but they live in fear of Minahan. They live in fear of what will happen if they go after him. So yeah, this is a good question. Once you go after him, guys, he'll once you yuck it up and make fun of Kirky, see how that goes. But we will see. We'll see what happens next. Once you listen, see.
Of course, yeah.
I swear to God, I used to listen. The first fall and it was bad, and I'd be like, this show sucks, and then I just completely stopped. That's the first time I've heard any part of that show in a year, or more than a year, and
They're so slow. It's hard to listen to. They're just so slow.
I don't like the slow motion. And coming up, we'll talk about the Red Sox. They won again. Is this team a World Series contender?
Yeah, I'd rather shoot myself in the skull. I'm not listening. No. But other people do, and they'll send us stuff. So
send us stuff.
Send us stuff, I guess. Yeah.
And, I don't know. Hopefully.
Well, you're a better man than I. I mean, you're handling it quite professionally.
Everybody imitates me. I think I'm easy to imitate. What can I say? We can thank throat cancer for that, but I'm easy to imitate. But all right, there's a couple other things I got to get to, but I should do Shea.
Yep.
All right, let's do Shea. And then we're going to get to the friggin' stupid name that the Cleveland baseball team adopted, and the confrontation with Tucker Carlson and some big fat loser in Montana. But first, Shay. All right, you know what? We're running out of time. We don't want to go too long, so I'm just going to say the Cleveland Guardians is the dumbest nickname I've heard in sports since I don't know the last singular nicknames. I hate singular nicknames like the Seattle Pride or one of the teams from the WNBA or whatever, the Miami Heat. You name a team after the weather. Just stupid. Anyway, this came out of the blue. It was dumb. You didn't have to do it. You got rid of Chief Wahoo. That was fine. It doesn't upset your average Native American. They're not offended. Only white liberals are upset by team nicknames. So there was pressure to change the nickname, and they changed it. And here's what I don't understand. If you have a chance to change your nickname, wouldn't you go all in and come up with a great, cool nickname that would sell lots of memorabilia and shirts and hats? Is anyone going to rush out for a shirt or a hat that says Guardians? Guardians? It's not even like badass. It's not even tough like the Seattle Kraken. That's cool, and young people think that's cool. Although is Kraken plural or singular? I don't even know.
I think Kraken is a singular.
Kraken is a singular, but what do you call if there's more than one Kraken? It's just Kraken, isn't it?
Krakens.
It's plural. Yeah. Then why
Maybe.
don't they call them the Krakens?
That's a great
There's
question.
no plural. That is plural. Anyway, Guardians. So I looked into it a little bit. They're naming their team after a statue on a bridge. There's statues on a bridge into the city, and they're called the Guardians of whatever, the Gate. And that's the name of the team. One of the most storied franchises in sports. You have time, you have resources. You could come up with the best nicknames, and you pick Guardians.
Yeah.
I think the Washington's Redskins answer is better than that. Just have no nickname. At least it's kind of notable. But I would come up with a really cool nickname and a really cool logo, and I'd say, listen, this is going to be great for marketing reasons. Kids are going to love it. What kid cares about a Guardian? It sounds like Curtis Sliwa should be your mascot, Guardian Angel, or that little skunk that's in the Guardians of the Gate movie, whatever. Maybe
Guardians
it's
of the Galaxy. Yes,
a
right.
raccoon or a chipmunk, or whatever the hell it is.
Something
It's
like that.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe that will be your logo. But what the hell does Guardians even mean?
Have you seen the logo too? It's this head with like a tiara thing with the little like wings on it.
Is that
It's
what
so
that
terrible.
is?
Yeah, it's so terrible.
So that's apparently taken from a statue on a bridge. Really, really inspirational. And it just seems so, I don't know, nicknames aren't the most important thing in the world. And I understand that Redskins sounds like a slur, but Indians doesn't sound like a slur. And my answer to anybody who's going to come after, Chiefs or Warriors or Braves is teams, franchises don't adopt nicknames that are disparaging, that are demeaning. They pick nicknames and logos to show strength. That's why they picked the Chiefs or the Warriors, to show strength, and the Indians too. These are warriors and great, brave, courageous fighters, and that's why they picked them, not because they wanted to mock them. I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. But whatever, the Chiefs will be next, or the Warriors, or every high school, every college. They're not going to be happy with just the Redskins and the Indians. They're going to come after everybody sooner or later.
Have you heard the other options though were way better? Like there's the spiders, of course, which I saw a logo mock-up of that. What looked amazing.
I know Rocks. A lot of people were tweeting that they should pick the Rocks.
Kind of like that.
And that's a song by Ian Hunter, I believe, Cleveland Rocks. At least they would have a good theme song.
Sure.
And Rocks sounds at least, tough. You're
sure.
a rock, not a
but then even there was even
angel.
There's even the Blues, but my favorite, well, I think Spiders is my favorite, but my second favorite is the Commodores, which would be after Oliver Hazard Perry Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, who won the Battle of Lake Erie in 1812. The Commodores would be pretty cool.
Commodores sounds like the band, the Commodores.
Yeah,
yeah. All have like leisure suits and be dancing. And
they might do that too. Yeah.
I like Spiders. Spiders would be good. You could have a really cool logo, big badass arachnid, or the Rocks. Just have a rock. Guardians is idiotic. It sounds like a guardian angel. The logo should be a little angel with wings flying around. Just weak. Speaking of weak and confrontations, this went really viral over the weekends. Tucker Carlson, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm a fan. He's on vacation, and Tucker likes to fish. So he goes to Montana with his family to fly fish. He was confronted in a fishing store, like a store that sells fly fishing stuff. We don't have many of those around here. Apparently they're big out there. By some big fat loser fishing guide who went up to him and was, I want you to know you're the worst person in the world. We could play it, but it's not really clear. And Tucker handled it beautifully. He looked at the camera, he laughed at the guy because someone else was filming it. And they're doing it in front of his daughter. Now, we're not sure how old his daughter is, but I believe college or 20s, and she was there watching this big fat goon call her father the worst person in the world. Now, I understand that's life as Tucker Carlson. The Antifa surrounded his house one night. His wife had to lock herself in the laundry room and call the cops. So they would like to take him out more than anyone, more than anything. They would like to destroy Tucker Carlson. We know the Biden administration is surveilling him. We know they read his emails and his texts. Someone asked me that how would because okay, we'll get to this. This story is just unfolding, but the fishing guide, if you haven't seen it, he's a big guy with a flannel shirt, fat, skinny legs. So his name is Dan Bailey, which is the weirdest coincidence because the store is called the Dan Bailey Fishing Store. No relation. the Dan Bailey on the store died years ago. It's an old store. This guy, Dan Bailey, and you start reading about him, and I'm telling you, this is how the world is changing, at least in my world. These right-wing guys aren't taking stuff like this lying down. They're not letting it roll off their back. So a number of people on right-wing Twitter said, let's find out more about this guy. And they did. And he's kind of this bizarre, shadowy fishing guide who went to Mongolia as part of some tour looking for some rare fish, but somehow he has connections with the CIA. And I'm telling you, I read the story. It's tenuous, and we may never hear any more about it. But the rumor was that he was somehow connected to the Biden administration. If you don't know Jack Posobiec, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correct, but he's
That's right.
a prominent right-wing Twitter guy, Jack Posobiec. He just wrote a book about Antifa. He breaks news. Sometimes he lifts from other people, but he's a very popular follow on Twitter. He tweets out that the White House knew all about the confrontation before it happened. Do you have the exact tweet in front of you?
Yeah, just in. The White House knew about the Tucker confrontation, and the entire setup was planned out in advance, per White House official.
Planned out in advance with the White House's cooperation. That's incredible. And here's what's going to happen. Tucker is probably still on vacation. You don't go to Montana for a day. He's probably off the whole week. But he's going to have people on his side looking into this hard and trying to find out more about this guy who was very proud of himself. He tweeted out, Dan Bailey, that, if you get a chance to, confront the worst person in the world, you got to take it. He was very proud of himself. We'll see how proud he is when these right-wing trolls just flip over every part of his life and look into it. And if that's true, if there's more to the story, if it's not just Posobiec saying this is what he hears, if that can be confirmed that the White House knew about what this guy was planning, A, how do they know where Tucker's going on vacation? Oh, yeah, that's right. They read his emails. And B, what did they think was going to happen? As I tweeted, this guy sucks, this Dan Bailey, because seriously, Tucker looked like he would have had a discussion. I mean, it would have been heated. But if the guy said, I don't like what you said about the vaccines, 1, 2, 3, and then Tucker talked, he talked, you would have a pretty interesting, tense confrontation for 2 or 3 minutes on video. You could tweet it out. Your people would love it. Tucker's people could defend him. But this was just bumbling guy being an a-hole to a guy in front of his daughter. Do you want to play it? Because you can't really understand what they're saying too well. But
yeah, we can play it, and then if it sucks, I can just cut it out later or something. But here we go.
Let's listen to Dan Bailey confronting Tucker Carlson at the Dan Bailey fishing shop.
I don't care, man. Dude, you are the worst human being known to mankind. I want you to know what you have done to this state, to the United States, to everything else in this world. I don't care that you're here. What you have done to people's families, what you have done to everybody else in this society. Son. Don't call me son for one.
That's basically it. So
and all Tucker says is step back, son. And then he looks at the camera and just laughs at him, which was a great answer. But again, if this guy just said something, a little bit confrontational and clearly and said, I want to make this clear, I think Tucker would have engaged him in a 2 or 3 minute conversation and then moved on and said that's the part of being, his life. That's what he's going to have to deal with if he's going to go to fishing stores.
Dan looks like a lunatic because what he should have done if he were an actual thinking human being instead of a Neanderthal is he would have asked a question instead of saying, dude, you're the worst human being known to mankind. He should have said, hey, Tucker, I know you're with, but I got a question for you. How do you, do you think that you're impacting people's getting to their vaccine? And do you think that's causing deaths?
Right. You could ask a why question. Why did you do this? Because that calls for an explanation, not just a yes or no. You say, why did you say this? And he would have explained himself clearly, would have been all on camera. You'd have gone viral and you wouldn't have looked like a dick. This guy looks like such a dick. And I know he was proud of himself, but we'll see how he likes it when people keep prying into his connections. And how do you think it works out for a Montana fishing guide when they attack this leader of the opposition, which is what Tucker is right now? He is the leader of the blowback, the pushback on the White House. It's not Trump. It's not DeSantis. It's not Jim Jordan. It is Tucker Carlson. He's the guy rallying the troops against this authoritarian state. So when you do that to Tucker Carlson in deep, deep red Montana, and your job is to take people on fishing trips, how many people you take on fishing trips are thinking like, Liz Warren or AOC? Those people you're taking on trips, they like Tucker, Dan Bailey.
Yeah.
They don't like what this White House is doing. Good luck, drumming up business. You'll have a few wokesters who seek you out, but you'll have a lot more people in their flannels and their Trump hats getting ready to go trout fishing, and they're going to say, "Oh, that's that fat load that tried to embarrass Tucker in front of his daughter."
It's not like he's
not going to go well.
It's not like he's a tour guide at like 30 Rockefeller in New York or something where, you're going to have all the wokes patting your back as you go. But no, he's going to probably lose business off.
No, he's not leading kayak tours in Cambridge on the Charles River. No, not doing. He's not in P-Town taking people on, tours, bike tours of the town. But that's going to be interesting going forward, because I know I follow people who are promising to go hard after Big Dan Bailey. We'll see how that goes for him. Hey, we don't have time to talk about the Olympics. I was enthralled. I was one of like 17 people who watched the opening ceremonies. That's not true. I didn't. And no, most people didn't either. Worst ratings in 30 years, I think it is, for the opening ceremonies. This Olympics, as I said, is going to suck because there are no fans. They are forcing the players to cover their faces and not hug. They have a no hug rule. Yeah. Some of the athletes, when they win gold, they violate it, and I guess they're getting a pass. But the U.S. basketball team lost to France, which that means Greg Popovich lost to France. And if they get bounced and they don't win gold, and they probably still will, then I'm just going to blame Popovich. Even though I didn't watch 1 minute of it, I'm going to say it was all Popovich's fault. Either that or they don't have enough white guys. We'll have to check with Jalen Rose on that. He should be happy though, right? They have no white guys because Kevin Love has like a hamstring injury or something. They replaced him, and now there are no white guys except Popovich. So I'm with Jalen Rose on that. I will blame the one white guy on the team if they lose again. But we'll see how that goes. The U.S. women's soccer team. Oh, see if I get this right. The U.S. women's soccer team should have stood for the anthem and they would have won. Come on, you don't think that was funny?
Oh, I mean, you definitely have the best
sense of humor.
I know.
No, they won. They killed New Zealand. They'll probably win every game now, and whatever. A purple-headed Rapinoe will be the hero. She'll be carrying the flag in the closing ceremonies and everything else. But we'll watch. We'll keep track. And why don't you watch some Olympics for us and give us a full report? No interest?
No, I don't. I've never liked the Olympics anyway, and I could care even less this year.
Yeah, it is weird. I flipped around a couple of times, and there's just no energy. I mean, obviously the players are into it, but there's no fans, and the coaches are all covered up, and it's just. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice if Maria Taylor, what her job is for NBC. I should have checked that out, but it's good to see she landed on her feet. Since last we talked, I believe Maria Taylor bailed out on ESPN, went to NBC. I did not see a figure for money. I'm going to guess $4 million. And so I'm sure that's going to have a big effect on the ratings. Now that she's in Tokyo, I'm sure a lot more people are going to be tuning into NBC. Or I asked that. I asked Minahan. He said he watched the basketball. I said, I didn't even think it was on. I followed it on Twitter. He said it was on Peacock. I said, that costs money, right? Peacock costs extra. Yeah. And he says that he has to subscribe because it has wrestling.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to subscribe, which means they put the men's basketball on Peacock, and they lose, and it's the biggest story of the weekend, and most people don't even have access to it.
I think that's why there's no video clips of Popovich talking then. I was looking for that, for his response, but if it was on Peacock, that's why I couldn't get it.
Yeah, well, I got enough, things I subscribe to. I'm not going to subscribe to Peacock. So watch wrestling and watch Olympic sports. But they were showing gold medal winners this morning, or medal winners, I don't even know what the hell sport it was. I think it was judo. They were just like jumping around, and then someone takes their helmet off and starts celebrating. And I'm like, I don't know what just happened, but someone won a gold medal. So there are a lot of those kind of sports, which I always say, how do you know they're the best in the world at it when 98% of the world never tried it?
Right.
You know, we all tried basketball. We all tried swimming. We all tried sprinting, running. Those are the best in the world. I'm convinced. I've tried those sports and they're better than I am or better than anyone. But how do we know I wouldn't be a better fencer or you wouldn't be a better judoer if we tried it?
I don't know. I mean, I think you should try fencing though, and we should definitely video it.
I think I'm over the hill, but I think those sports are silly. When you see a sport, you don't even know what it is or the rules, and you're going, it's just a little niche little club. There's probably like 112 people in the whole world who even try it. So how can they shouldn't get the same medal as Carl Lewis or Caitlyn Jenner.
You get a copper medal.
They should get a little one, or maybe a fake one, a fake gold. They shouldn't get the same medal as the fastest person in the world. By the way, the New Zealand weightlifter, the lovely Laurel Hubbard, did she go yet?
I don't know.
We got to track that. We got to see if she wins gold, because that'll be a great victory for all of us. If the transgender powerlifter, who was a very competitive male powerlifter a few years ago and is now the Olympic representative heavyweight for
Looks
New
like
Zealand.
looks like she is on Monday, August 2nd.
Ooh, long wait.
Yeah.
Oh, good. 6 a.m.
6:50 a.m.
6:50. Maybe we'll live
If you want,
commentate it next week. We'll have live commentary of the lovely Laurel Hubbard going for gold. But all right, we shall leave it there, Carano. I know there's a bunch more stuff we didn't get to, but what do we miss?
No, I think we caught it. Cleveland, U.S. men's basketball, Brady, Tucker, and then the Curtis stuff.
And we will keep track of all those stories because today's the day Brady's going to get asked. Today's the day we found out Dan Bailey was working on direct orders from Barack Obama when he or Susan Rice when he confronted Tucker. We're going to find out more about that, and we will see how it goes today for Tom Brady and for Deshaun Watson. It's nice to see a guy get to camp and overcome all that adversity. That's what I guarantee some writer will say. Deshaun Watson overcame the adversity of sexually assaulting 22 women and then going back to playing.
It's unbelievable.
I'm not sure how that works, but we will keep track of that and keep you updated. All right. Thank you to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving, and thanks to DCU, and thanks to you, Matthew Carano.
Welcome.
That will do it for today. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.